Welcome. Today I want to talk about a different perspective or angle on this problem or this thing that a lot of men discuss. Don't worry, this won't be a red pill video. I'm not about to be a red pill VTuber. But it's something that I thought about while I was just driving around. And I was driving around and I saw this very beautiful woman. She saw me anyway, train gazing. That's the end of that. But it made me realize something. And the basis or the simple solution to what I'm about to talk about is lack of communities in the United States of America, or lack of communities in developed nations. And of course I'll go into depth on what that means or what I mean by that, but just hear me out and let me know what you think. Anyway, so in third world countries, right, because there's this big thing right now of guys going to other countries to look for women, and I've been to other countries. And generally speaking, it is easier to find and talk to women in other countries. So, not so much that, obviously there are certain countries that are higher on their list of countries ranked by like the most beautiful women on earth, Brazil, Colombia. But it's not just that, it's the fact that they are out in public. They're in places where you can meet and talk to them, right? There are places for them to go to and communities for them to be a part of. And if you want to say third world countries, that's a pretty derogatory term. It's not completely accurate. We could say developing countries. In developing countries, there is more of a need for one another than there is in first world countries. In the United States, a lot of people, or most people's goal, is to get independent as fast as possible so that they can go away from other humans and not interact with them at all. Avoid the world. And for a select few amount of people who can maintain their mental health and stay healthy while being to themselves truly alone, then that's a great thing. That's a goal to strive for, but it's not most of the population. Humans are communicative creatures. They require socialization, and when you take that away from them, it's not a good thing. It results in various other structures that exist in society slowly falling apart. And I think that's what we're currently seeing. And I think a lot of what guys are saying, right? Oh, go to other countries for women. It's supported by just this alone. And again, hear me out. What communities exist for women in the United States? I'll tell you right now, the women that I've talked to have very few hobbies. Most of them persist of going to the gym and watching Netflix or their phones. Those are not hobbies, nor are they communities that you can be a part of. And you might say that the gym is a hobby, but well, it's a hobby, but it's not a community, right? It's not a hobby that supports a community. That's the point I was trying to make. And you might say that the gym is a community, but and again, hear me out on this one, right? I think that gyms should be sex divided places. Male gyms and female gyms, because it's very hard to go to modern gyms nowadays and develop community and be comfortable with talking to everybody, when as a male you don't want to make a woman uncomfortable, you don't want to make a female uncomfortable, and as a female you don't want to make any males uncomfortable, or you might just feel uncomfortable with a male watching you as you're squatting down to pick up weights. And that's whether you're trying to do that or not. This isn't a thing that I'm throwing blame on anybody for. It's just the way it is in gyms. Because of the dynamic that exists, this being a place where you're in your most vulnerable positions for a lot of people, especially if you're working to lose weight or it's your first time in there, it's probably best and it's probably conducive to building communities if they were more sex divided. And there are gyms like that, and a lot of the women I've talked to who go to female only gyms, they love them, and males too. There are a few male only gyms, but not that many, especially not as many female only gyms there are. And there's just something about that allows community to be fostered. I'm going on a side tangent, but this is an important thing. Maybe I'll make a video on this specifically, but it's something that I've thought about a lot. It's something that is just very true and evident in practice, and it has a pretty simple solution when it comes to gyms specifically. And if gyms were divided by sex, it would be easier to develop communities because you'd be comfortable talking to anybody in the gym, considering anybody in the gym shouldn't be uncomfortable with you approaching and talking to them. Versus, there's always like that insecurity there's always insecurity for most people when it comes to interacting with the other sex. Anyway, Because of that, they're left with what? Watching TikTok and Netflix. Obviously, that's not going to develop a community. You might have a parasocial relationship with a YouTuber you're watching. You might have a parasocial relationship with the Netflix protagonist that you love and you feel connected to, who you have to wait an entire year to see again. But chances are that is not a community. You know, you don't have people to talk to. You don't have anybody to pat you on the back and tell you that you're doing something crazy when you are, or to get out of your funk, or help you get out of your funk when you're in one. It's not good. It's not good to have no communities, and that's kind of what the U.S. is. Now, why is this the case? Once again, we're independent, but there's not really a need. In these other countries, there is more of a need to interact with the community that you're a part of, and what that results in is you developing friendships, you becoming a part of said community, you feeling pride in making it better, and you feeling sorrow if the community is affected or hurt. So, in the U.S., what the day-to-day looks like for most women, as a result of them not having communities to go out and interact with or be a part of, is they wake up in their little rectangle, they spend a few hours in there, and then they get in their other rectangle. This rectangle takes them to another rectangle where they usually work, and they stay in this rectangle, never developing real relationships or deep relationships. I think most people avoid creating deep bonds and relationships at the workplace. Of course, there's always that one exception, right? One or two friends in the workplace that you know are just solid, great individuals. But generally speaking, it's not even a good idea to, befriend everybody in the workplace and allow them in on your personal life and your own internal world. It's just not the place for them. And then they get back into their rectangles and they take another drive to their rectangle. Sometimes they might stop on a rectangle on the way. And instead of going inside of this rectangle, though, they take their rectangle. Let me use words now. They take their car and they drive past, this new rectangle, McDonald's, whatever food place they're going to, and they grab their food without interacting with anybody or interacting with the most minimum amount of people that they possibly could, and then they go back to their rectangle to repeat the cycle again. Now, in this process, where is there an opportunity for either sex to find love, to meet each other, to have some magical moment? There aren't too many people, just going to the skating rink or the arcade. And most people who do this are going to do it with friends that already exist so they can hide in their little bubbles and not interact with the rest of the world. Again, this isn't something throwing blame on anybody, but it's something that I've realized because just in general, it is harder to interact with and find, beautiful women to talk to and date as you go into public in the U.S. versus other countries. And it's because there are no communities that most women in the U.S. are a part of. Now, I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you are a woman in the U.S., tell me if you have a community that you're a part of, or if you have an outlet, and tell me if you can see the privilege that you have, or like how great of a thing that is comparative to most of your female friends who don't have that. And again, this is a problem for men too. I mean, in some cases, it's even more pathetic what men try to do for community. Whether it be the Red Pill Manosphere online, or whether it be MGTOW, whether it be those Christian camps that dudes do where they act like they're soldiers going through boot camp and get screamed at so they can apparently become men or come out stronger, and they pay $5,000, $15,000 in order to do so. That is just insane. But this is why I think it's relevant, or it is true, and there are other reasons other than just financial incentives for men going outside of their own country to talk to women. These places incentivize or are incentivized to support and develop communities with each other. It's necessary in some situations, while in the U.S. it's not only not the ideal, but it's something that's avoided by the vast majority of people in our country. I also think there was a major effect that happened in COVID 2020 where people got very comfortable and very used to and very addicted to whatever little cycle they had going on in their houses. And I don't think that that's broken. I think that the most addictive thing they had during that time was in their hands, and they continue to have that in their hands. So there's not really an opportunity for, healing or separating from that cycle. Anyway, I'll talk about that in some later videos. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think. Have a good day.